I want to welcome you all to Terwilliger Elementary. My name is Heather Harbour. I am the principal here at Terwilliger. We are so happy that you all are with us this evening. And we just want to share our beautiful campus with you. We're glad that you're able to see it. We are very proud and feel very fortunate that we get to serve students here at a brand new, beautiful facility. So again, welcome to Terwilliger. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Miss Jackie Johnson.
Thank you, Heather, and thank you all so much for being here. We know you have a very busy schedules, especially if you've got kids, so we appreciate you coming out tonight. I want to make a few quick announcements, a few quick introductions to start with. First, with our school board members who are all here tonight. We have our board chair, Tina Certain. We have our board vice chair, Dr. Leonetta McNeely, and our board member, Kay Abbott, Dione McGraw, and Dr. Sarah Rockwell. They are all here to hear what you have to say here tonight. Also with us tonight, Superintendent Shane Andrew, and we have a number of other staff members who are here who will also be involved in some way in this process, so they want to hear what you have to say as well. At this time, I'd like to ask our board chair to say a few words, and Tina, you can stay right there if you'd like, and then we'll pick up with the program.
Alachua County Public Schools has been managing various and different facility challenges over the past few years, aging facilities in need of modernization, a backlog of deferred maintenance, and some of our local schools are overcrowded, and we've been having an over-reliance on portables, and some facilities are underutilized. So to address some of these issues, citizens approved the half-cent sales tax in 2018, which has provided a much-needed funding source to address the capital facility needs of our district. And for that, I'd like to say thank you to each of you. Building and renovations have been underway, but building and renovating alone will not solve the long-standing facility capacity issues that we are facing. If we continue to kick the can down the road and avoid rezoning, these issues won't ever get resolved. The board has to update school attendance lines by rezoning, and the last comprehensive rezoning was done in 1983. A larger spot rezoning was done in 2002. In the past recent years, we've done a couple smaller spot rezonings. I understand and I acknowledge the stress and anxiety that many may feel when the topic of rezoning comes up, but I assure you it's necessary. We have a board policy that's been in place for some years, and it dictates some reasons why we can address the school rezonings. Is when we construct new school facilities, when we make construction and we have additional facilities built on site, or if we cause a school, as we did with Duval Elementary, under capacity of schools as well. Those are some reasons that we can use to justify redrawing school attendance lines. And some factors that we often consider when school rezoning is done are financial and administrative efficiency, utilization of existing school facilities, school capacity and grade level capacity, convenience of access to school, safe and efficient student transportation and travel, effective and appropriate instructional programs, as well as social economic diversity in school enrollments with consideration of equitable impact on student enrollment at each school. 2 other elementary schools have been rebuilt since the sales tax has been in effect. Metcalf Elementary and Idlewild, both were recently rebuilt at the attendance level. Attendance boundary lines for those have to be updated or revised to address those new additions to our school facility inventory. Last spring, the district undertook a spot rezoning to help move some students between Idlewild and Metcalf to sort of ease the transition back into the newly rebuilt Idlewild and to more efficiently use Metcalf. There are 4 schools being considered at this time for spot rezoning and to address the capacity and utilization. Terwilliger Elementary, which is at 64% utilization, Hidden Oak 106, Meadowbrook at 115% existing capacity, and Childs at 103%. Spot rezoning, we've been asked why are we considering spot rezoning, and one of the reasons that spot rezoning is being considered at this time is that it involves smaller changes to school boundaries in order to address more immediate needs. Spot rezoning can be completed in a shorter period of time, and I acknowledge that spot rezoning will not solve all of our overcrowding and under-enrollment situations that exist right now, but it will move us toward a more efficient operations and address accessibility issues. Comprehensive rezoning is a more lengthy process that requires time to gather input from the community members and stakeholders. The plan is to complete the spot rezoning that we're undertaking now and to continue the work that will be required to engage with the community and then to address the entire district's capacity situations. The scope of this rezoning, as I said earlier, is limited so as not to impact students moved during the spot rezoning, again, when the comprehensive rezoning is done. It's never our intention to move students more than once, but sometimes something like that may happen. Thank you to Ms. Harbour and her staff for hosting us tonight. I appreciate the effort of the district staff to gather input and feedback from the community, and I encourage all stakeholders to stay involved and informed throughout this decision-making process and to work towards a constructive and collaborative solution that benefits all of our students, all of our schools, and our community as a whole. Tonight, we'll receive feedback. You'll have 3 minutes to address the board. Ms. Johnson will assist in keeping the time. And tonight is for us to receive input from the community, and therefore there are no maps that will be received. I think the first maps that will be distributed will be around April 6th, and that is because we've told the community we'd like to hear from you before so that we can incorporate any feedback that we get from you into any maps. So thank you all so much for being here with us tonight. And Ms. Johnson, I give it back to you.
Thank you, Ms. Certain. As Ms. Certain said, you'll have 3 minutes, and when your 3 minutes is up, you'll also hear a beeping. So you've got both an audio and a visual cue that your time is up, at which point Ms. Certain will ask you to finish your remarks and so that we can move on to the next person. We are recording tonight's event so that we can post it on our spot rezoning website, which is www.sbac.edu, and we'll be posting these documents as well as the recording of this meeting. Now, normally I would wait till the end of the meeting to clue you in on next steps, but I realize that not everybody's going to be able to stay for the whole event. So as Mrs. Certain said, the plan is for a proposed attendance maps to be shared with the school board at a school board workshop on April 6th at 1 p.m. at the district office. At that point, throughout the month of April, we will have 4 additional community input sessions like this one so that people can digest those proposals and provide their input as well. There will also be additional opportunities at school board workshops, public hearings, meetings to provide input as well. But we will have one at each one of the affected schools, and we will be getting you a schedule in probably early next week so that you know when those are coming up. We'll also post them on that same website, and so we want to make sure that you know when those are scheduled so that you'll be able to attend. And you don't have to attend just the one that's associated with your family or where you live or where your kids go or where you work. You can go to any or all of those workshops. So that is all we have now as far as housekeeping. At this time, I would like to introduce our Director of Planning and Construction, Suzanne Nguyen, who's going to share the first couple of slides with you. Suzanne?
Good evening, everyone. I'm thrilled that we have such a great turnout. I want to emphasize that what we're presenting tonight are existing conditions that we have in our schools, which I'm sure you're all well aware of. So I'd like to call your attention to the map on the projected screen, looking specifically at Meadowbrook, Hidden Oak, Childs, and Terwilliger. Terwilliger is our new elementary school that was constructed, and the Terwilliger zone, which you see up there in the green, kind of in the center, where there's between Littlewood and Hidden Oak, that zone was moved to this new Terwilliger elementary school. That's what we have right now. So the enrollment right now is 64% of the capacity of this new elementary school. We have the ability to have 962 students in this new school, and right now we have 618. Last week we ran this data, which was the Friday before spring break, the 17th. Childs Elementary School is over capacity. That's at 103%. We have 5 portables there at Childs Elementary. Hidden Oak is at 106% of their capacity. They have 11 portables at their school, and Meadowbrook Elementary is at 115% of their capacity. They have 9 portables at their school. And when we have a situation where we have capacity that's over what the school was designed for, we have situations where students have to start eating lunch earlier and earlier in the day. Sometimes they have to start as early as 9:30 in the morning. So those core facilities are designed for those capacities of those schools. And so that's one of the big problems with overcapacity in our schools. So at this time, I'd like to have Mr. John Gilreath, kind of take over and talk to you about the other 2 maps that we have. And again, these are maps that show the existing conditions that we have, as well as the 3rd map that's called active development. This is development that's imminent. Construction is either in progress or planned very soon. And that map, that shows primarily what is coming in the very near future. And with the schools that we're looking at tonight, the majority of the development is happening in Meadowbrook, Hidden Oak, and Childs. So, John.
Again, thank you all for coming out today. We're going to show you, again, the existing conditions and the data that we're using right now. The map that we have up was showing you, again, the school zones, but then the distribution of student locations throughout the county and the school district. One thing that's important to note is not every school district is the same. We have different characteristics throughout each attendance zone. We have rural zones, we have urban zones, we have suburban zones. And you can see some of the population density and distribution through these school districts that we're talking about today. Calling your attention to the chart on the right-hand side, we've already shown you that Meadowbrook is currently at 115% over capacity. When it was opened, it was at capacity. Looking at the zone now, there are currently 874 students enrolled at Meadowbrook, with 922 in the zone that could possibly attend. So those are students right now who are maybe going to a charter school, they're on a scholarship, there's a reason why they're not there, but that is an additional 100+ students that could be attending an 115% capacity elementary school. So we're showing you this to give you an idea of the data that we have per student. We're working with land use data. We're working with transportation data. We're working with development data that we're going to show you in a little bit. So there's a wealth of information that we're not going to be able to show all of because some of it is very specific to students and secure information. But we're going to show you the publicly accessible information, and we're going to show you why we're making these decisions, and we're going to show you the students that it's going to affect once we go into this process. What we're looking at in this map is the active development reviews. So this does not include some of the developments that have future phases coming online. It doesn't include things that are in currently planned review. These are active developments that are going on right now. So the larger the circle, the more seats are reserved for that school in the concurrency zone. Talking about Meadowbrook, there's 129 reserved seats for Meadowbrook just in the active development right now, on top of 115% overcapacity school with 100 students that could be attending Meadowbrook. So this is really an example for all of these schools, but Meadowbrook is the most glaring example with a large zone that stretches from 43rd Street Northwest to 143rd to south of Newberry. That is something that we're trying to fix with the spot rezoning, is the capacity for these 4 schools. We're tracking this with each city and with each county so we know what's coming up, what's coming down the pipe. And as you know, driving around, development isn't stopping. It's picking up here. So this is something we really have to think about as we're moving into these processes. Thank you.
One thing I wanted to mention as well that came to my mind as John was talking about Meadowbrook, some of our schools, such as Meadowbrook, have no more space to put portables. A lot of the play fields for Meadowbrook have been taken up with portables, and we have a restriction on the size of the property that we have at Meadowbrook to even put any more portables. So that's another point we have, not with all of our schools, but with some of them.
Thank you, Suzanne and John. At this point, we're going to get ready to take public input. Again, Ms. Certain will be the person to tell you when your time is up, but you'll also be able to see it and to be able to hear it. Ms. Certain?
And we will not dialogue with our citizens. We'll just receive information from you, okay?
But if you do have some questions for Ms. Nguyen or Mr. Gilreath afterwards, perhaps on something that you see on one of these boards, they will be here, so they will be able to respond to questions at that point. So at this point, I'd like to ask folks who are interested in speaking to the board to come up onto the microphone, and we will get started.
If you would please state your name for us, and you'll have 3 minutes with us.
Hi, my name is Lara Metrion, and I agree, rezoning is necessary. I'm not opposed to it at all. I am a little bit unclear about the process that's being utilized. I can clearly see that there's sufficient development coming down the pike that warrants much needed revisions to the zones, particularly in the schools on the west side. But I was listening to a spokesperson, I believe, for the school board on WUFT yesterday evening as I was driving home, and this person mentioned that it's not possible to guarantee that students who are moved in the spot rezoning would not also be moved during the redistricting of the entire county. And that makes sense, because I'm not sure how you can do just one spot and not the others. But that brings me to my question where I lack clarity, and that is why it is necessary for us to proceed with spot rezoning of just these 4 schools, as opposed to getting to work now on rezoning the entire district and having everybody move at one time, as opposed to the somewhat piecemeal process as it appears. I would like a little bit more clarity and some more compelling maps or conversation about what the necessity is for these 4 schools only to move in the 2023-2024 school year, as opposed to with the rest of the district in the 2024-2025 school year. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Yorkowitz. Thank you for the open invitation to this event and the opportunity tonight to speak as a parent of children who will be impacted by both the proposed spot rezoning for 23-24 and the proposed comprehensive rezoning for 24-25. I want to start by commending the work of the staff, teachers, administrators of each of the elementary schools that have been identified as being over capacity in the district, and I see your work. I want to let you know, and I thank you for all that you're doing to creatively meet this challenging moment. For those of us who may be relatively new to the Gainesville area, like I am, and or who have young children who are just starting into the elementary school system, I just would like to be a little bit more clear about how we got here. So I did a little bit of research to try to get a little bit of information. And based on that research and available current and historic news, prior to 2021, an investment was made in a new elementary school where we stand and sit tonight through funds collected by the half-cent school tax increase passed in 2018, as mentioned. What was mentioned there is that $22 million per year was projected for 12 years to be able to address some of the infrastructure issues. And a decision was made in 2021, reportedly to save about $11 million that was going to be needed for upgrades to the old Terwilliger school. And that the shifting students to the new school would allow for time to be able to complete a full district-wide rezoning process. And at that time, our board chair, Ms. Certain, said that from a financial standpoint, the board must consider closing Terwilliger, but would use the school for a year temporarily as a swing school as the school district looks at a larger rezoning. We're 2 years later, after that time. The school board is now coming to families after these 2 additional years and saying, we haven't started the process, but we've got to do it now. And there's not been any strategic plan that has been shared to date. And all of that said, I guess I find myself disappointed as somebody coming new into the area and just the inaction of what I have seen. And I don't see everything, but I appreciate your work. But I just want to ask just a couple questions here, just for your thoughts at a later time. You know, what kind of assurance can you provide to support families, staff, and faculty who were told those things a couple years ago that the actual process for rezoning will be started? We're concerned. 2, where's the accountability for the half-cent sales tax, the $22 million a year to invest in our schools? Where have we put it? Where haven't we put it? What decisions were made to be able to get us here? And where's the accountability for outcomes at our schools? I know some of the concern is about the outcomes at this particular school. I don't know those at all, so I just have heard that. So I just wanted to present that to the board as just another thing to think about. Thank you.
I'm going to ask that you all hold your applause just in the sake of time. We're appreciative of all of our citizens coming to greet us, but if you would please not applaud. Thank you.
Thank you, board members. I appreciate you all taking the time today to meet and hear the concerns of the families impacted by the spot rezoning. Your name? My name is Colleen Flege. Thank you. The position of concern is timing. For the Alachua County community to receive information regarding spot rezoning with less than 6 months to process and have the ability to adjust feels compressed and rushed. The magnet school application timeline has passed. The kindergarten roundup will take place before the final announcement of the spot rezoning. COVID has had a ripple effect on the psychological insecurity of our children, and this current year is the first real year they have experienced without serious protocols of health safety. This generation of children is experiencing global insecurity, social insecurity, psychological insecurity, and now with a pending rezoning, I fear our children will be impacted by educational insecurity. A strong foundation and a safe environment are key to the success of not only for the education of the educator, but the education of the educated. By adjusting now with a spot rezoning and then later with a comprehensive rezoning, the disruption of our communities will be experienced twofold. I respectfully request to have the school board create an intentional, comprehensive rezoning that will be finalized and announced at the beginning of the 2024 and implemented for the 2024 through 2025 school year. This pause will not delay, but instead provide the necessary time needed to allow the school board staff members, and the families to have time to plan, propose, process, and adjust with the purpose towards rectifying the problems and providing opportunities for our community's children. Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Dawn Dillon. My children do not attend the affected schools being discussed tonight. My children attend schools that have seemingly been ignored by this process historically. My children attend Newberry Elementary and Oakview Middle. However, they should both be at Newberry Elementary. But due to the overcrowding at 141%, fifth graders go to middle school. An entire grade missing, and we're still the most overcrowded school in the district. I do not agree with the spot rezoning. I think it should be comprehensive. The whole district needs to be done. But if you do move forward, I just ask that you please take a look at and possibly include Newberry. We have been overcrowded for far too long and are within a geographical area that could come to this physical location. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Adults, please, if you would not applaud, please.
It shows our approval for what they're saying. It's our contribution.
I understand, please, please do not applaud, if you would, please. Thank you.
Thank you, board, for being here. I know this is not, again, an easy situation to hear all of these things. Thank you for letting me speak today. My name is Richard Garand. I am here again as an eagle, a buccaneer, a panda, a cougar, a husky, a raider, a dragon, a colt, and a cougar a second time. I went to 11 schools, so I am absolutely not afraid of changing schools, especially in the middle of the year. Meadowbrook, not our Meadowbrook, Meadowbrook and Davie, Castle Hill, Royal Palm, Kenwood, Horizon, Harbordale, Rogers Middle, Stranahan, Academy, Coral Springs, Coconut Creek. It's the school I graduated from. I enjoyed changing schools so much I did the 4th grade twice just so I could do it in a second school. 4 of those schools are Title I. The reason why it's not 7 is 3 of those have been shut down since I went there, not because I went there. Again, I'm not afraid of my children changing schools. They would be changing from a school that's 2.5 miles away to 2.25 miles away. My concern, again, is we spend almost 25 minutes going over these maps, talking about the situation. I believe nobody here would object to the fact that this needs to be done. What I have to say, what I've already heard, I'm sure what we're going to hear ad nauseum, is the timetable. Not only the timetable, maybe being afraid of spot rezoning. Respectfully, I don't know that we can guarantee that somebody zoned in spot rezoning won't be rezoned during comprehensive rezoning. I would hope that would be the case, but if we don't know what those populations are, I don't know that we can guarantee those. That was my first out of 11 paragraphs. I have 1 minute left. I'm going to try to speak faster now. Again, the current plan calls for decisions to be completed mid-May after the school year is complete without an opportunity to say goodbye or adjust resources or meet the new resources during the course of normal sessions. I've heard the phrase kicking the can today. I heard it in Tuesday's meeting. I heard it in the previous board meeting. Again, this is not kicking the can. This is one decision to be made over the next barely over a year. It is impossible to take that action without proper taking responsibility is not standing up in front of your peers and announcing, I take responsibility, but it is owning the course of corrective action to create a better outcome. This was said that it was a tight schedule to do 6 weeks ago. Listening to the conversation on Tuesday, it was clear that nobody here was happy with the results that have happened over the past 6 weeks. So to try to complete this process with even less time, again, just doesn't seem tenable to me. I don't believe this is kicking the can. I believe doing this properly in comprehensive rezoning is going to be difficult to do in the next year. Sorry. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kathleen Sarin. I have twin boys in 1st grade at Meadowbrook. I see those portables, I see the struggle, and it's clear that it has to happen, but the timeline I'm going to sort of echo is my concern. My boys are at EDEP and after school, and if you're in EDP, you know dang well you better have that form in by April 15th to get the spot for next year, right? So my concern is that we'll sort of be out of luck for after school plans for next year if we have to change schools. So again, I'm going to echo the concerns about the timeline, and is 3 months really enough time to get before school and after school plans sort of ironed out, and are the ripples going to smooth out in the 3 months by the time I learn we're going to have to change schools? So thanks for hearing us.
Good evening. My name is Catherine OKelly, and thank you for the opportunity to speak here tonight. I'm grateful that you are taking our concerns into consideration. I am the mother of a 5th grader and a 1st grader at Meadowbrook Elementary School. My family moved here from South Carolina last year, and before that we lived in the Atlanta suburbs. The biggest factor for my husband and I in buying a house here in Gainesville was, where are our kids going to go to school? We specifically chose our neighborhood because it was zoned for Meadowbrook. Living here meant a commute to the airport for my husband, but we felt it was a worthy sacrifice. My fifth grader has attended 2 public schools, a private school, a charter school, and was homeschooled during COVID. She has absolutely flourished here at Meadowbrook and especially enjoys her gifted classes. My first grader has had an equally wonderful experience at Meadowbrook and is currently testing for the gifted program. He's already very attached to Meadowbrook and is very upset to hear about this spot rezoning. From what I've heard from fellow parents, everyone seems to be on board with a comprehensive rezone if it will help alleviate overcrowding and reduce the burden on the school system of Alachua County. However, to introduce a spot rezone without thoughtful planning, long-term considerations, and answers to all our questions does not seem prudent. Rezoning is a huge deal with countless repercussions, some positive and some negative. Nobody wants to take their child from a highly rated, wonderfully supported school and move them to an unknown future. It's too important of a process to be rushed. I am in support of a goal of equity and access for all students in Alachua County, but at the end of the day, I also want to make sure my children are set up for success and make sure that they are safe, challenged, and given opportunities to meet them where they are academically and socially. Please reconsider this spot rezoning and take the time to thoughtfully and strategically plan for the future of all of our children. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Paige May, and I echo many of the thoughts that others have said here tonight, particularly that the main concern is with the timeline, which I've mentioned before as well. And Kathleen actually hit very well on my point also at the havoc it would create in our after-school care. These spots are very hard to come by, and she specifically mentioned EDP, but also some of the other after-school programs in Gainesville only offer transportation from Hidden Oak, Meadowbrook, and some of the schools in question, but not Terwilliger. So not only would EDP student spots be lost, but also potentially other after-school program. And by waiting until next year, start talking about it now, but implement it for next year, we would all have time to appropriately arrange for after-school care for our children, which is very important for working parents like myself. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bethany Amonen. I have a 5th grader and a 2nd grader at Hidden Oak. And everyone has said basically what I'm going to say, but mine's a personal story. We went to every single magnet open house with a rising 6th grader, rising 3rd grader. Went through everything, wonderful options, amazing options are here. We decided for my 6th grader, but for my uprising 3rd grader, we decided we were gonna keep him at Hidden Oak. He had to do a year of virtual, different things. This was gonna be the best option for him. So when I got the announcement, at first I was like, yes, we're gonna do rezoning. But when I saw that it was for the following year, I felt like options were just completely taken from us. I feel there is overcrowding, it needs to be done, but I'm asking the board to please not do the spot rezoning, do a comprehensive, announce it in December or January for the following year, and let people have time to plan, please.
Hello, I'm Gustavo de Andrade, father of a 3rd grader child and a soon-to-be VPK student as well. So I share the concerns of other people here. I'm actually a transportation engineer and do that kind of study for a living. And I appreciate the board giving us the opportunity to be in those discussions since the beginning of the studies, not in the middle, but and what I'm seeing, looking at the data here, and my question is, and comment question is, regarding the schools that were selected to be spot rezoned are not necessarily the cluster with the highest occupancy rate. Really, if you look at the table, there are other schools scattered around with worse conditions. Like we had the example here of Newberry, there are others. So if it's a spot rezoning we're needing, so it made me question if it's the right spot to do it. or if we, as others said, would need a wider rezoning with more time. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jordan Marlow, parent of 2 in Alachua County schools, married to an Alachua County school teacher at Newberry High School, and I serve as the mayor in the city of Newberry as well. And I'm here simply to advocate that whether you move forward with spot zoning or you wait to do the comprehensive, I think that that's y'all's wheelhouse. You'll need to make that decision. I'm just begging that Newberry Elementary School is part of that conversation. So if you move forward with spot rezoning, as has already been mentioned, Newberry Elementary School is at 141% capacity, and that's with 5th grade being over at Oakview, which already represents its own issues. So please think about Newberry. I know that all of you have visited there. You've seen how many portables are on that campus. I ask every single new resident that I have the honor to meet, why did they pick Newberry? And the most frequent answer is, we heard that the schools are great. And I agree they're great, but we need to work to keep making sure that they're great. We did a comprehensive deep dive study about 5 or 6 years ago when we were negotiating with Alachua County Sheriff's Office. And so I can provide that information to you. Those numbers are a little bit old, but about 60% of the students that go to Newberry Elementary School live in the city of Newberry. The rest are bussed in from other places. So whether you move forward with spot zoning or a comprehensive, I believe that Newberry's issues could be addressed in a spot zone. Jonesville shares a zip code with the city of Newberry, and the address says Newberry, but they're not within our city limits. That means that we don't govern those developments. Those apartment buildings that you see, those housing developments that you see, are not approved by the city of Newberry. They're approved by the Alachua County Board of Commissioners. I talked to the Alachua County Board of Commissioners. We don't approve one single house in the city of Newberry without talking about school capacity. It's at every single conversation, P&Z board meetings. I watch the county meetings. They never talk about school capacity, and Jonesville gets bussed out to Newberry. I see that there are other schools around that have capacity, so I believe that our issues could be addressed within spot zoning. But I'm also a patient guy. If you want to wait and do the comprehensive, I understand the value in that as well. But whatever you do, please think about Newberry and that 141% capacity. And I'm available to meet with any of you and share that data with you if you want to. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, board members, for allowing us to have a time to speak. My name is Kale Flagley. I'd also like to echo the concerns about the rushed nature of this rezoning, the spot rezoning. An additional concern that I have is about the potential for students to be rezoned twice, once in the spot rezoning and again in the comprehensive rezoning. The communication email sent to us from Ms. Jackie Johnson stated that neighborhoods impacted by the spot rezoning will not be included in the comprehensive rezoning. However, on the March 21st school board meeting, the superintendent recommended putting a pause on the rezoning, the spot rezoning, because of many reasons, one of them being that he could not guarantee that some students wouldn't be rezoned again during the comprehensive rezoning. Additionally, in a previous meeting on March 8th, I believe 2 board members stated that nothing was off the table when it came to comprehensive rezoning. I believe it was also mentioned that Idlewild students, they were spot rezoned, and that they did not have a guarantee that they would not be rezoned again in the comprehensive rezoning. These statements cause great concern about the potential for students to be moved both in the spot rezoning and then again in the comprehensive rezoning. This creates the potential for some students to be at 3 different elementary schools in 3 years. And finally, if you do, in fact, guarantee that the spot rezoning students will not be moved during the comprehensive rezoning, that would really hamstring the comprehensive rezoning process. ACPS would kind of already need to have a finalized plan for comprehensive rezoning before doing a spot rezoning, or else you remove the flexibility to create a good comprehensive rezoning plan. Childs is at 103% capacity, which kind of seems insignificant compared to the 119% of Wiles and 141% at Newberry, which are not addressed in the spot plan. But again, moving students now seriously hinders the flexibility to address the capacity issues in these other schools during the comprehensive rezoning. I realize that there's a lot of want and need to get something done and to prevent further delays. But in the interest of having a really good comprehensive rezoning plan, I highly recommend that you scrap the spot rezoning and put all your efforts, as recommended by the superintendent and a few others, and focus on that comprehensive plan. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Carrie Lagacy. I am the mom of a third grader and first grader. I have reached out to the board members and the superintendent via email, and I wanted to thank you for the responses that I have received for that. I also wanted to start out by thanking Ms. Abbott and the superintendent for proposing at the meeting on Tuesday to remove spot rezoning from this academic year plan and to move forward with developing a thoughtful and comprehensive rezoning plan for the academic year beginning in 2024. There simply isn't enough time to do this right. And as Drs. Rockwell and Ms. McGraw stated on Tuesday, these conversations should have been initiated much sooner, perhaps even as soon as November of last year after the election. I also don't have a clear understanding of how we went from 100% elementary school rezoning to selecting these 4 schools that are not even the most overcrowded, as the other individuals have stated here tonight. Wiles is at 120% capacity and Newberry is at 141% capacity. So what you are trying to achieve is not even achievable with this selected spot rezone. I also really wanted to speak to the powerful comments that Ms. McGraw made on Tuesday at the board meeting, because rezoning should not be controversial. If all of the schools in this district were at the same academic level, rezoning would not be controversial. So this behavior has to be addressed. The 40% achievement gap has to be addressed. Teacher retention has to be addressed. Transportation has to be addressed. The legacy of this school board should not be moving kids around the city. This school board should want to be remembered for closing the gap. Sorry, I usually am only at a mic at karaoke, so I'm like shaking. This school board should want to be remembered for closing the achievement gap, for getting a grip on the behavior, for turning around teacher retention, and for solving transportation issues. Pausing and taking a moment to really reflect on the needs of the district and what people are saying here tonight is not kicking the can down the road. It is an opportunity to create a cohesive vision that can be effectively executed to the benefit of this entire district. And yes, that does involve rezoning, but not now. 3 years ago, I was engaged in discussions of spot rezoning around School I. Multiple options were presented. Those multiple options were narrowed down to 2 or 3. The community provided input at multiple occasions. I provided input at multiple occasions. At the 11th hour, a hasty decision was made to select an entirely new option that was never discussed, to make School I a swing school for Terwilliger. I now find myself here 3 years later in the same situation where it feels like hasty decisions are being made. These do not feel like well-conceived decisions. We are here for community input and vetting, but there are no plans to provide input on, nor can there be vetting without vital information. So while I understand that there is a policy that affords the board the authority to rezone, I am simply questioning whether it is in the best interest of the children, the staff, and the community to do so now and in this manner. Thank you.
So I'm not much for public speaking, but I just did a couple little quick math things. This Remy Kimes from Meadowbrook, my daughter's at Meadowbrook. Based on some of the stuff you gave us, we are overcrowded at those 3 schools by about 300, and this school can hold 300 more. So spot rezoning makes sense in that, right? But no, it doesn't. It's short-sighted, just like opening Meadowbrook at capacity, and then this school would probably be opening at capacity. It also adds stress to the busing and traffic that we all know is already a problem. Everyone's complaining all the time about bus issues already. So I feel like spot rezoning is just another short-sighted way of fixing this problem. We need to make sure we're not causing extra issues on the bus system, parents who are transporting these kids across town when they should be in a school closer to their home already. That's pretty much all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Megan Thompson. I have a kindergartner at Meadowbrook. I just, repeat everything that everybody has said here already. I think another important thing to think about is the fact that a lot of the kids in the Terwilliger community do not live anywhere close to this campus. And talking to some people within the Terwilliger community, they really struggle with transportation. There's no bus stops out here. Often the school bus drivers don't show, which I know is an issue with countywide of bus problems. But and it means the parents have to come pick their kids up, but sometimes they don't have a way to do that. If there was a school that was actually close to their home and in a city bus route, it would alleviate a lot of stress. So I know that everybody's talked about the timeline of the spot rezoning, but I think that any plan that includes Terwilliger and these 4 schools that then would not be included in a comprehensive rezone is just setting this school up to continue to have issues with the transportation and getting the kids here when they really would thrive in a school that was closer to them. Dr. Rockwell also commented that they really struggle to set up a good PTA here because the parents can't get out here to volunteer and to be at the school campus. Whether they want to be or not, they don't have the opportunity to get out here. So that's really all I have. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Blair DeLate. I have a son at Meadowbrook who's in second, or will be in second grade, and a daughter who is coming in to be a incoming kindergartner. Excuse me. We started off. Wade was assigned to Wiles at our, and he told me one day my daughter was throwing a fit, and he goes, "Mommy, just close your ears and ignore her because that's what the teachers told us to do." And when I asked him about that, I was very curious. And he said that there's a student in his class, and all she did was scream and yell until the resource officer came to get her, and then they could go about their day. A lot of this just kind of reiterates with me of the discipline. And I looked up the discipline reports for the 2021-2022 school year. And Hidden Oak, Childs, and Meadowbrook combined for 18 incidents. Terwilliger had 40. And those 40 included 10 for fighting, 14 for physical attacks, and 8 for threatening and intimidation. And, you know, these are young kids, and I get it, and there's things, but I want to address one of the things Mr. McGraw said earlier this week was if you don't address the discipline, you know, you're going to lose people. So what is what's the plan for the discipline in these schools? What's the plan for teachers? So if we're pulling all of these kids and we're getting them here, or I don't know if their kids are shuffling around so the Terwilliger kids can be closer to their homes, but what's the plan for the teachers? Do we have teachers hired? I mean, we're having job fairs all the time trying to fill these spots, or are teachers being pulled from these schools too to come over here and help? We just need to understand if these are new kids or new teachers, or they're going to have substitutes. We need some stability in this. And then the other thing I would just, out of curiosity, like to know is, you know, from the consultant, what is the average appropriate timeline given for these kind of rezonings, whether it's a spot rezoning or like a full comprehensive? What is an appropriate timeline that, you know, has been successful? Thank you.
Hey there, I'm Christy Sutton, mom to 7 kiddos from 5 up to 16. So I have kids at GHS, the Rock School, Homeschool, VPK. So basically just shuttling kids around Gainesville all the time. We have been zoned for Littlewood since we moved here. We've lived in Gainesville for almost 18 years. And we just moved last summer up behind North Florida. And so we are zoned for Terwilliger now, and our children, a couple of our children have been unable to be in the private school setting, and so they're home with me for various reasons, but we are looking at putting them back in to public school next year. My concern is that, I mean, I work a few days a week running a local nonprofit. My husband works at Shands, and we have kids from GHS to all over, and my motherhood burden is certainly not yours. However, is the spot rezoning actually addressing Terwilliger kids? I think what someone else had just talked about, Terwilliger families currently being pushed into other places because having to drive across 2 school zones to get my kids or drop them off or come for a conference or volunteer at the school, that's a huge challenge. And I know we have friends who live in the same area, and we're also foster parents, so sometimes we have 8 or 9 children in our home, as well as some other friends who are also zoned for Terwilliger. And it is impossible to say yes to placements sometimes because the idea that a kid is going to get on a bus at 6:30 and come across town is really hard for parents to understand. So I guess if you could have some clarification for us about families who are currently zoned for Terwilliger but have to drive through multiple school zones to get to Terwilliger. Is the idea to shift people so that we're closer to our schools, or is the idea simply to pull from those 3 schools that have been mentioned and put them at Terwilliger? So do we have options? Are we part of the rezoning? Are we part of the people coming in? That's just a question I need clarity on.
I have a lot of the same sentiments as she does.
Would you state your name,
I'm
please?
sorry. I'm April Fosnot. I have a child at Childs that we work very hard every year to ensure that she gets to go there. She has autism, and she's got an eating disorder, and she's got severe anxiety. And so for me, we don't live in that zone. We live in Terwilliger zone. I had children that attended. My two oldest daughters attended Terwilliger, and we were offered a scholarship to another school, and we chose Childs. And now my third child is attending there, and she loves it, and she feels safe and secure. My granddaughter lives with me also, and she attends Terwilliger because she was a late enrollee. I have experience at both schools. My granddaughter has now gone through 4 bus drivers for Terwilliger. The bus stop changed this week, and I guess what I really want to convey is stability, and for our kids to just have a stable environment, to know who their teacher's going to be, to have some accountability. I've not heard from my granddaughter's teacher at all since she moved in with us in November. And I reached out to her today to say, is she doing okay? I just really, I'm not against the zoning. I am against how quick it's going to occur for the school administrators, and that it's going to make their jobs even harder. I agree with the 2024 timetable, and just please take into account that a lot of our kids aren't just everyday go with the flow kids. Thank you.
My name is Vani Gurala. I have a 3rd grader at Lawton Childs and a 9th grader at Buholz High School. I agree with all of my co-parents, and I have the same concerns about like why are we, my main thing is, are we trying to increase the number of people coming to Terwilliger? Or are we trying to decrease the amount of people going to Meadowbrook, Childs, and Hidden Oak? Because if it is the more number you're seeing, Wiles is higher, Newberry is higher, and we are not thinking about them, whereas we are thinking about Meadowbrook, Hidden Oak, and Childs. So if you're thinking about increasing the number of people in Terwilliger, maybe bring some magnet programs in here. Then more of us will apply and have better teachers and come to this school for the magnet programs. And also, I don't like the timeline when you talked about the spots rezoning, because all of your magnet applications have been gone. All of the private schools enrollment has been done. So if you come and put this out at this time, we cannot, even if we get to not like the spot rezoning, we cannot go to other schools. We are stuck in the spot rezoning. So I would like you to consider not doing the spot rezoning and maybe do a comprehensive rezoning and give kids and parents time to adjust. I agree with the EDEP point, because I lost my EDEP spot during COVID, and I had to wait an year and a half to get into EDEP. At last in February is when we got our EDEP spot back. But now I don't know whether next year I'll have EDP, because I just now got a message today. We can only register, but we cannot be guaranteed a spot until the spot rezoning information comes out. So I think it would be nice to do a comprehensive rezoning rather than a spot rezoning. It's too stressful on all the parents and the kids. Thank you.
Good evening, board members and district officials. My name is Tiffany Thompson, and I am a proud 5th grade teacher here at Terwilliger. I also serve as the president of our Terwilliger PTA. I want to begin by thanking each of you for joining us this evening and for taking time to listen to the community. As I mentioned, I have taught at Terwilliger for the past 5 years. I intentionally and purposefully choose to teach here because I feel like I can make the greatest impact on students and their lives here. Many of us feel the same way as why we're here sitting here after working all day. The success of education does not solely depend on data and test scores, but helping children blossom and becoming the most well-rounded people that they can be as they grow older. In January of 2021, our school community was told that we were changing locations and that our building was going to be sold due to safety, financial, and building quality concerns. As of today, 2 years later, the building has still not been sold. What a waste of a beautiful, historical, and meaningful campus. We were told that the move was going to be for 1 school year as a swing school, and here we are going on 3 years. Many of us had concerns about the new building's location and how far it is from our neighborhoods, and the effect that this would have on families and attendance. We were told that there was going to be new RTS bus routes for our families, as well as an on-site van available to transfer them to IEP meetings and to events at school. Neither of these things have happened. This has led to so many issues with attendance and parent involvement, and it's not fair to our kids. Even this meeting tonight is not accessible for our families. Why couldn't we have it in their neighborhood clubhouse so that they can attend? It's very far, and they don't all have transportation to get all the way out here to Parker Road. It has been really disheartening to hear the statements over the past few years implying that Terwilliger teachers are not good teachers, especially when the majority of the comments come from people who have never set foot into a Terwilliger classroom. School grades do not show the entire picture of how each student is performing at a school, and there are groups of underperforming students at every single school in our district. If you were to take the data at every school, there are D groups and F groups in every single school, even the quote-unquote A schools. If you would like to, I welcome you to visit my classroom. Any board member, district official, or approved citizen, you're free to volunteer. If you walk a day in a Terwilliger teacher's shoes, you'll see all the wonderful things that happen in our building every single day. I will close my statements by saying that Terwilliger is a community, not just a building. When you speak negatively about Terwilliger, we're talking about children, teachers, and families. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. I'm not sure if you all can hear me. If you all would please, thank you, Ms. Thompson, I appreciate that, but if we would please not applaud. And I would just like to add that we are in the process of trying to schedule a community meeting in the SWAG area community. We don't have a date secured yet, but Ms. Johnson and our team they're trying to work to schedule that meeting so that would be closer to those families for them. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Please say your name.
I'm okay. Y'all know me, Adriana Keen. Hi to everybody who doesn't know me, Adriana Keen. I have 3 minutes tonight. I'm so glad I just went after those two ladies who addressed some concerns. So 2 meetings ago, I suggested taking Terwilliger and making it a whole magnet school where you bring your dual, your STEM, your art, everything like that. You're gifted and talented. All the elementary school keeps their ESE programs and their gifted programs. So I'm going to kind of just go from there, and y'all can go back and watch and kind of hear my craziness. If we went ahead and allotted 5% to each of the schools west of I-75, I have old numbers, glad to get new numbers, that would bring 7 schools under their capacity. Would also help with transportation, because right now Alachua County transports their students to the magnet program. They would be able to transport here instead of there. Again, this would be a choice for families that they would get to choose to come here and not be forced until we do a comprehensive rezoning. My comprehensive plan then goes to do that at Metcalf. Metcalf does have more students now because they did have the spot rezoning from Idlewild. But what I would like to see is to use Prairie View. Why Prairie View? Because they just got a $5 million renovation before COVID and was used for a swing school. And put that as a year-round school for our children on the east side of town, starting off first. I have a question about Rawlings. I know pre-COVID, Rawlings was quote-unquote C, D, I have the data. I think they now have a D rating again. Is that school going to close? Is it going to be taken by the state? What is going on with Rawlings? If that is in fact, could we start a year-round school, bring some of the kids from Idlewild, from Rawlings, from Metcalf, flood them with education, and then possibly use Rawlings for Ms. McGraw's idea about having another school for the children with behavioral issues, because that's in the empowerment zone. It's all there. It's close to middle schools, close to high schools, close to elementary schools. So back to Terwilliger. I believe the magnet programs, if you're in a magnet program, you're selected, you stay with those children for the majority of the day. So for those who could be concerned about behavioral problems currently at Terwilliger, I think, don't quote me, you would be able to know that your child is with a core group of kids that would progress through second, third, wherever they're starting, and have whatever you envision for your child, that is what program they would be in. Lastly, just throw my hand, because I'm throwing through so much, I actually have extra time. What was I say? Oh, Old Terwilliger. Old Terwilliger, I have an idea. This was originally Terwilliger by the mall. Goes to high school level. Our high schools are struggling. And can we not make a Pam at Lofton at Terwilliger? So Pam at Lofton would be the satellite school to Eastside, and the Terwilliger, or whatever rename it, would be the satellite school to Buchholz. RTS goes there. I'm done.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Carrie Bush. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate your time. Understand that there are no easy decisions in what you do, and I've been in public service for 18 years, and this is only the second time I've ever come to speak as a private citizen. Again, so I appreciate your time, and I understand that this is not an easy decision. I did just want to share kind of, our family's story. We live here close to Terwilliger, and, I was involved in actually the half-cent sales tax oversight board at the time when it was elementary I, and, so I haven't been a passive person in some of these conversations. But what it turned out to be, I think, was not what was, intended. And I understand the fiscal pressures. I understand the personnel, the operational, the politics, the growth, everything that you're trying to balance is, can be overwhelming. But I would just encourage you as, a school board, as a staff, as the teachers, as the principals, that we're all in this together. We're all in it for the students, the families, the teachers. And that's what I just want to, help remind us all of, that that's our North Star. And when you make those decisions, about this whole process, think about, in the past, was the Terwilliger decision to bring, that school over to elementary I, was that done in the best interest of the students, right? Similarly, think about this decision. Is a spot rezoning going to be of the interest of all the students, the families, the staff, the teachers that are involved? Or would it make more sense to have a comprehensive rezoning and take the time, really to do it correctly? So. And I just wanted to say one other thing. Dr. McNeely, I think at the previous meeting, had said, no matter what, people aren't going to be happy. And I agree with you. No way about it. People aren't going to be happy. But when I drop my kids off every day, kindergartner and a first grader at Childs, it's a moment, it's terrifying, right? The first time you do that, you drop your kids off. And all I can say that makes that tolerable is I look at the school resource officer, I look at the principal, I look at those teachers, and I know those people, and I know who I'm leaving those kids with now, right? And you build that over time. You don't just, turn that on, you don't turn that off. Schools are so much more than just facilities, they're more than grades, they're the people in them. So in closing, I just would like to say, number one, I support a comprehensive rezoning. Number two, I support the timing of a rezoning that will give families time to make decisions. And number three, I supporting Terwilliger and all of the schools within our county that need some additional support. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tursis Arias, and I know this is not part of the conversation, but I just want to mention that I have a kindergarten student and a second grade student, and they're part of Terwilliger. So being Terwilliger's Head Start program. And at the beginning, when my first daughter started here, I was kind of concerned because I heard a lot of bad comments saying that Terwilliger is a bad school and stuff like that. But I noticed since my daughter started in here that it's not just part of the teachers, it's parents' job to work with the kids. Like, if your child doesn't have a good grade, it's because we have to work with the teacher together so our students will be in better position, in good grades. Because I heard that this school have a bad grades for a lot of students, so I was just want to mention that we as a parent have to work with our students, so work with the teacher as well, so we can be better school. Thank you.
Hi. Hello. My name is Robin Yang, and I'm a parent of a second grader in Meadowbrook. And before I get started, I would like to say, like, I agree with all the parents and teacher and staff that have just presented their ideas. I totally agree with them. But I'm also trying to understand why we're doing this spot rezoning, like before a comprehensive rezoning. And I'm thinking maybe the new development is the major thing we want to solve. I'm not sure whether my understanding is correct, but I'm just thinking, especially another parent mentioned stability is the most important part that we want to guarantee our children. So is it possible, and since this spot rezoning sounds like a temporary solution, is it, does it make sense if we do not, like if the spot rezoning does not impact the current students there, but instead like as a temporary solution, only like affecting the incoming cohort or the new students who wants to sign up? Is that a possibility? If you have to do the spots rezoning, I'm for comprehensive rezoning too, as many other parents has presented. Thank you. Sorry, I know like or there might be siblings that are involved here. I'm so sorry, but I just saw I still had a little like a more minute, but just wonder like for siblings maybe they can have a choice, but anyway, thank you.
Good afternoon, board, and good afternoon, board and everyone else. My name is Shanda Haynes, and I am a teacher here at Terwilliger. I've been in the district for nearly 19 years now, starting out under Dr. McNeely. And one thing I want to say before I go on is that I remember in '02 when they talked about rezoning Childs to Terwilliger, and it was a horrible scene at the meeting that evening, as you can remember. But my heart is warm tonight because I'm hearing so many families in support of the rezoning, and they're considering our children as a whole, and that is super important. And again, that stability. But I'm asking the board tonight to please wait on this rezoning until the 24 school year. I'm looking at it from a teacher perspective. That would be incredibly overwhelming to me. Particularly right now, Terwilliger is working very hard. We've got great people in here that are helping us. We're on the new leadership team. This is their first year of getting their footing with us and making wonderful things happen inside of our building and everything. But the thought of I'm getting a whole new set of everyone and I won't know anything about it until I get out of school with that is just, it's nerve-wracking. It's making me nervous. How am I going to plan? How am I going to prepare? How am I going to do what I need to do? If I knew ahead of time in December or January, like someone said, then in my mind, I can start preparing myself. And I think that's a sentiment for all of our teachers across the board. I've only worked in Title I settings, and I know most of you may not know, but it's challenging, but I love it and I wouldn't have it any other way. We have other problems going on aside from behavior, along with transportation. We need to iron out all of those things before we move forward, because I feel like we'll be in a bigger mess. I'm so worried about kids that are sitting here sometimes for an extra 30 minutes or an hour because they don't have a snack. They're ready to go home and they're tired. That's not solely transportation's fault. We don't have the people. We've had turnarounds here with our staff, and we're trying to keep and retain teachers. So imagine coming in and you've gotten your footing as that first year, and then boom, everything's changing for you. So please consider teachers. As much as we consider our students, make them number one, but please consider our needs, because many of us are here because we love our district and we love our students most of all. Thank you.
Good evening. I almost feel like I want to turn this around. I don't know if I can, but tell me if you can't hear me. So my name is Mary Benedict, and I am the past president of Alachua County PTA. The current president couldn't make it tonight, and she just asked me to step in. And I couldn't be more proud of all of you, because one of the most important things we do in PTA, which is represented at all of the schools that we're talking about tonight.
I can hear you great, but there are hundreds of people who are going to watch this on video.
Okay. So thank you. I really appreciate that. So I just wanted to say thank you for coming out. PTAs are at all of the schools we're talking about tonight. PTA is about community. It's about supporting family-school partnerships. And it's about advocacy, speaking out, and that's what you're doing. I'm so proud. I don't know where Tiffany is, but Tiffany, our PTA president of Terwilliger and fifth grade teacher, she is the busiest, most caring, wonderful woman I know. Thank you for speaking up tonight. That's what we do. And so if you're not a member of your PTA, I hope you'll consider joining, but you don't need to. We're all in it together, and thank you so much for coming out tonight.
My name is Sarah Jones. I'm not much of a public speaker, so we're going to give this a go. I am a resident of the Oakmont community right here next to Terwilliger. I moved to Alachua County 3 years ago, right before COVID happened, and I moved into that neighborhood with the intention of sending my two small children, who at the time were 3 years old and 1 year old, to the new I school. I sent them to private VPK. I'm very blessed that I had that option, and I considered keeping my children at that VPK school when I knew that they kept a kindergarten and first grade. I was met last year when my 4-year-old, soon to be 5-year-old at the time, I was told that they were not going to offer kindergarten for the upcoming 22-23 school year. That left me in a panic. I came to Terwilliger Elementary and I met with the administration. I was met with, "You don't belong here." I did not feel welcomed, although I was allowed to enter this school being right next to this facility. I walked into Childs and I felt like this is where I belong. This is where my students belong. This is where my children belong. I'm in the middle of a divorce. My children are my top priority, and I have no idea where to buy a house because I have no idea where I can keep them in the same school that I want them to be in. The timing is terrible. The rush on this project is atrocious. And I think anybody in this community, in this surrounding area, would agree that we need rezoning because we want to feel community. I moved to Alachua County because I wanted a community. I wasn't getting that in my house, and I wanted it from my community. And now I have no idea what to do for myself, and I know that my speech is very personal, but I think that there are people that can relate to that. So I just wanted to share my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Danielle Wilson. I'm not much of a public speaker either. I have 2 children at Hidden Oak, 1st and 3rd grade, and I have 2 more that are younger that will be entering the public schools in a few years. I echo what most people said, fully support doing it the right way, giving us more time to plan, giving us time for the options. I just wanted to kind of tweak a couple of suggestions on timeline. I think January of next year, even for the 24-25 school year, is entirely too late, which is why this is entirely too late. As we know, magnet programs, private schools, all the other options are well underway working on their enrollment at that time already. Families tour sooner than that. I have done tours for these things sooner than that. So I would propose that we do that, as a lot of people have in here, but don't kick the can. I don't think it's kicking the can. I think we should keep the scheduled meetings that we're going to be getting in the next couple weeks. Go ahead and decide now. We're not going to rush this for the upcoming school year. It's going to be for 24-25, but keep these meetings in the next couple months and make that decision and finalize that decision. Even December, I think, would be absolute latest. If you could do it at the beginning of next school year so families have time to plan, that would be much more respectful of families and being able to weigh their options. So.
Hi, I'm Dr. Patrick Thyville, and I want to pose a different question than what's been posed here tonight. What is the downside? Why are we rushing this decision? If we don't spot rezone, what do we lose? Are we losing state funding? Is the state going to come take over? What is the downside to pushing the decision? That's my simple question that doesn't seem to be addressed tonight. Thank you.
How are you guys? My name is Travis Prince. I actually, I was a little confused because my wife told me to come to this meeting, so I'm kind of getting a little more clarity as far as what's going on. I actually am from West Palm Beach, Florida, so I came here because I have gone to schools, A, B, C, D schools, and I know exactly what it's like to experience the different types of school when I was coming up. Okay, yes, I know exactly what it's like to, with the type of schools that I came from down there and down south. I came here to go to University of Florida to work my butt off to put myself and my family in a situation that I actually wanted them to, that I saw for myself. It's like I live in Cobblefield, which is about 3 miles away from here, because I knew exactly what I wanted for my family, to not actually have to go to the same type of schools that I went to. So I made sure that I worked my butt off to do that. I have two little boys. They're in gifted program at Childs. I just want clarification, because I feel like it's a bigger picture here. I don't know what it is, but I just want clarification as to why I would have to potentially take my sons from my neighborhood that's 2 minutes away from school to go to another school. I feel like I'm being dragged into a ball of dysfunction, and I'm not a proponent of dysfunction. So ultimately, my question is, what's the real reason why I would have to potentially take my sons, who lives 2 minutes away from my house, to their school now, who's thriving, which what I worked for, to actually come to a school that I'm aware of when I came up, the type of school. And I'm not saying this is a bad school. I don't know much about it, but if I actually have them in a situation that actually provides stability and just peace of mind, I would rather that type of situation for my kids. I'm speaking personally for me. So ultimately, I just want clarification, and also I don't want to be dragged into what seems to be somewhat of a dysfunctional situation, personally. So, yep.
I want to thank you all very much for being here. We weren't quite sure what sort of attendance we would have, but we appreciate you very much taking time out of your schedules to be here. Again, the plan is for a proposed attendance zones to be presented to the school board at a school board workshop on April 6th at 1 p.m. at the district office. And then we have 4, possibly 5, as Mrs. Certain mentioned, we are trying to schedule a meeting in the SWAG area as well once that proposed plan has been produced. So do be on the lookout in your emails in the next week, early next week, for a full schedule. Again, we also have the spot rezoning website, which will have the schedule. It will have these documents posted, and it will also have the proposed plan when that is presented to the school board on the 6th. That will be posted probably on the 7th then. So again, we thank you all very much for being here, and have a good night.